Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Podcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I am your host, Tom Grossi, and today we will be breaking down the Week 14 matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Washington Redskins as the Packers return home for their final two games at home and then go on the road to face the purple incarnations of Satan's and, of course, the Lions. But the Redskins having a strong game last week against the Carolina Panthers, defeating them. And listen, you know, the Redskins, they're the team you want to play if you want your coach to be fired, because obviously that's what happened with Ron Rivera and the Panthers. And so, to help me break it all down, we have brought on Mo, a diehard Redskins fan. Mo, thank you so much for joining us, bud.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, all right, Mo, like I gotta be real with you right from the get-go. The Washington Redskins. It's a tough going right now, and I feel like the Redskins have become like the problem child when it comes to like looking at a franchise and being like, what is happening there, right? Dan Snyder is like the name that is constantly throwing around by Redskins fans, by just viewers of the NFL as just being so problematic. And I'm kind of just curious to just get your macro take on like the entire situation that is the Washington Redskins at this point. Do you see like Dan Snyder being like the ultimate problem as he's being portrayed in the media and also as fans have seen that? Or do you think that there's other issues that, you know, just maybe involve Snyder?
No, you got to see Snyder as the biggest problem because you've got 20 years of recorded history on his ownership of the team and the outcome. And the outcome has been terrible for all 20 years. Every decision has either blown up in their face or backfired. And, he's done everything. You can go down a list of things that you're going to try to do. Bring in the hot college head coach, bring in the legendary coach, bring in a successful former NFL coach. He's done it all. I don't know if he just can't get out of his own way or he just torpedoes himself or he's just a billionaire who keeps making terrible decisions, but you can't not blame him for everything that's happened so far with this team.
Yeah, and like I feel like it's one of those scenarios too that like it's not. It sounds like an easy fix, right? Like just get rid of Dan Snyder, but that process is like difficult, right? Like I mean, look what happened with the Clippers. I mean, that's what it's going to take. We already had our own little scandal here with the cheerleaders as well, and nothing came out of that. So I think he's in his 50s right now, and he's got a teenage son. You just don't ever see Snyder not being the name of the ownership group here. Yeah, and that's tough too, because like we were saying, like it's not a head coach, it's not a player issue. Like I mean, like there's issues obviously surrounding that, but you could just go out shopping, right? Like you've done that. You've brought in like big time free agents. You brought up the fact that you have signed multiple coaches, you've signed new coaches, you've signed veteran coaches, and now it's at this point where, okay, so like you're a Redskins fan, and you know the going has been tough, and so for you, like looking at like the current state of the team. If you're saying that Snyder is not going to be the name on the ownership, how do you go about changing the culture? Because I mean, like there's complaints about the stadium that you have. There's obviously a lack of attendance that's wrong. I watched the numbers on the last few games, and like tickets were going for like $15. Now again, they were against like terrible teams, but like like the ticket prices are super duper low, and not in like the fun way of hey discounts for families.
Right. But those used to be sellouts when the team was in its heyday, regardless of how bad they were. Now, you can't give tickets away for them. Nobody wants to go out there. It's a trek to get out there. It's a pain. The stadium isn't Snyder's fault. It was built when he bought the team, but he's done nothing to it since then. The atmosphere there is terrible. And that leads into the other part of, how it feels right now in the current state of the team. You just don't get any sense that any improvements are going to be made or they're going to be long term. It's just always kind of like a quick little fix shut your mouth, here's a little something for you. So it's kind of how it feels. It's a lot of apathy. It is.
Yeah. And you look at it from a perspective of like, okay, you're trying to get
you're trying to get a talented football team like assembled, right? And then obviously you have like catastrophic injuries like with Alex Smith. And, you know,
Right.
you are no stranger to catastrophic injuries because you look at like RG3, right? Who was like, you know, back on that first season, like I remember that vividly. And I was like, this kid is like scary to watch. Like he is going to blow up, had a great first season. And then you have obviously the playoffs in which ends just horribly. And you look at that, and since that point, like you've been trying, like you go out and you sign like really big free agent deals, like to help your backfield out, or you go out and you get Alex Smith for relatively cheap as well. Like, so that was a great signing. And then you have like the injuries pile up. You know, you have Geis who like showed, hey, he's really good. Adrian Peterson seemed to turn back the clock a little bit. And so, like, when you look at this team, you know, besides looking obviously at the ownership, where do you see like the biggest holes within the organization right now? And is there enough to get plugged with like a couple of drafts? Like, obviously you guys got Dwayne Haskins, you know, and hoping that he is the future. So I'm just curious of seeing like where you think your biggest areas of needs are right now, so you can at least get back to being competitive.
So actually, I think they do a great job with talent evaluation. I don't think their draft has been terrible, but I think when they look at their roster, I think they grade it way higher than it actually ends up being. Like going into this season with Josh Norman as your number 2 cornerback is a terrible decision.
Mm-hmm.
He's way over the hill and just no good before. So they did nothing to address that. Their middle linebacker situation is terrible. They've got just guys there. They have no second safety with Landon Collins. So what improvements they need to make is those quick 3 right there. It could be a couple of drafts and it could be a couple of free agent signings. That's how quickly you can turn in the NFL. But the question is, how long will that success sustain itself? Are they just going to have another 10-win season and they bottom out to 6 wins again?
Sure.
Because that's generally what happens with the team is they'll find an inside straight somewhere and they'll make a run to the playoffs. And then the next year they completely make a terrible decision and they're back down to 6 wins, drafting 10, 11, 12 again.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, cause like you look at like, and I have to admit, like I do love this stat, like the fact that like there is actually a path for you guys to still win your division is just like
great. It's great.
I mean, like
we're terrible. Everybody else is just as bad.
I mean, because you look at that, right? Like you look at like the Eagles, who have been playoff contenders and you know have won a Super Bowl within the past couple of years, and look where they're at now. Like you know they are massively struggling. You look at the Cowboys, who have on paper all the talent, and they are massively struggling. And you look at the Giants, who, you know, that's just a whole nother thing. And so, like, you look at that division, and I was talking to a Giants fan last week about this. They were like, listen, if there is a team that just shows up within the next few years that is really good, they're going to dominate that division. Because, like, there just isn't, like, everybody seems to be, like, in a sense of rebuild, even if, you know, the Cowboys don't want to admit it, because Jason Garrett most likely is gone at the end of the season. The Giants aren't doing anything. Who knows what's going on with the Eagles? And so, like, when you're looking at your division, there's definitely opportunities there for you to succeed. It's just a matter of putting the right building blocks there.
Yeah, and I think if they keep with the traditional Redskins football, and I think NFC East football, just building a running game and a defense. And whoever does that's going to take over. I know the Cowboys have tried to do that for whatever reason they can. But I think that's going to be the Redskins' path to the quickest success. Doing that, they've got pieces on the offensive line. They have guys who can hopefully stay healthy, and I think AP's been a wonderful fill-in for them. You know, I think they have a terrible defensive coordinator. They need to make a change there, but they've got a young, good defensive line. But yeah, like the Giants fan said, I mean, it's there for the taking. I guess that's the other frustrating part is just that if you had put any modicum of a team together, you'd be in first place right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
And when you look at like how the season like start, like so like what expectations did you have for your team this year? You know, like walking into it, obviously you're drafting a new QB. You have Jay Gruden, at least for the first few games. Like, did you have high expectations to be like, okay, we're going to be competitive within this division this year?
I think everybody's expectation going into this year was just another middling 7-9 win team. Because that's what kind of Jay had built. That was the expectation with Jay, was that they were never good enough to win big games, or never showed up for the big games, but they won when they should have for the most part. So it was going to be another 7, 8, 9 win game season, and then hopefully some balls bounce your way and you maybe get 10 or 11 wins. Was kind of the expectation. Because he had done it before with, he had Case Keenum going into this year, and he had done it before with other quarterbacks, so I guess we're way better than Case Keenum because the floor completely fell out on him. But, I would say going to the expectation, it was not what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and so obviously you start 0-5, Jay Gruden gets fired, right? So just flat out just gone. Did that come as a surprise to you, or was the writing on the wall? Did you think that he was at least going to play out the season? Were you a little bit surprised by the quickness that he actually was kicked out?
At 0-5, no. If they had won 1 or 2 games and he got fired, I'd say it would have been pretty surprising. But he was going into the final year of his contract. He had not been extended. But once they hit 0-5, reports around were that he wasn't developing Haskins at all, really working with them. And it just came to a point where I guess they had to choose if they wanted to quarterback the coach, and they picked the quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, you just put a whole bunch of draft capital into him, right? Like, so it's kind of like, hey.
You got to start developing them at some point. So.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. So I mean, like, and speaking of that development too, like, so obviously we've seen like flashes of Haskins, and obviously it's incredibly difficult to start as a rookie, like, literally to go from college and then thrown into the fire, if you will. So like, while you're talking about developing that, like, can you also expand upon like what you've seen of Haskins so far? Were you happy when you drafted him? And obviously not expecting the world out of him during his rookie season, but have you been like at least okay with what you've seen thus far?
It's been more bad than good so far. He's progressed since the quarterback that first started the season and first took snaps, especially against the Giants. And worked, his week 4 against Buffalo. He's made progression, but it's difficult because there's still so much potential there. This last week he wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't exceptional, but they got to run the ball up and down the field, so he didn't have to do much. But you see him develop. I haven't seen a good game out of him yet. I haven't seen him sort of win the game. I mean, at the end against the Lions, they got the interception. He had to take it down for the field goal. They had to score to win, and he did that.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta get to a point where he puts you in position that you don't need that last drive. He put up, a couple 100 yards, a couple of touchdowns, a couple of touchdown drives, and you're in the driver's seat just waiting for the clock to run out. You haven't seen that again.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It's interesting too, because like you look at your string of quarterbacks, right? You have Alex Smith, who has been notoriously labeled as like a game manager, but who has had very successful seasons in Kansas City, and would have given you the best chance to win. And then you bring in Case Keenum, obviously because Smith gets hurt, and then Case Keenum is not blowing anybody away, but hey, he took the Vikings to the NFC Championship game. And so now, like with Haskins, it's a matter of, okay, you hopefully have your running backs, right? So you have Geis, and then who knows how much longer AP will be around, but you have Geis, and when he's able to stay healthy, especially, looking at what he did last week, he looked to be very effective. And so now it's a matter of just like building that team around Haskins, and so allowing him to develop like we were talking about before. And I think it's just a matter of at what point like do you run out of like patience or time, considering like you're obviously going to be getting a new head coach at the end of the year. Do you have any potential like wants or desires for head coach? Like obviously like Ron Rivera is getting fired, Mike McCarthy is out there, hell, Jason Garrett might be available. So I'm curious of kind of like what your take on if you want someone currently or in the NFL, or if you want to like potentially go down to college.
No, I wouldn't want to go down to the college ranks. I don't think you're going to get anybody. You're not going to get Lincoln Riley to come in here and coach the team. And as far as other head coaches available, I'd kind of like to see who's on the block at the end of the year to see what's available. Ron Rivera is a good coach. Maybe going defensive was probably a better idea for them going forward than offensive. But right now, I think it's too early in the process. There's only a handful of people, and I think your fan base would agree. I don't want McCarthy at all.
And listen, we got that one Super Bowl, so that was really nice that we held on to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's tough too because you look at that, and whenever you get rid of a head coach, you look at all the rookie head coaches that are around this season, and you have Matt LaFleur being successful, and that's about it, right? There's no easy fix for that sometimes, and even with the Panthers kind of getting a little flack of being oh, okay, maybe they shouldn't have fired Ron Rivera. Some people are very, very happy about that. But they're about to find out, was it a head coach issue? Or was it the fact that you have a backup QB playing with almost no defense and Christian McCaffrey's doing literally everything for you? That was the bigger issue. And, head coaches take a lot of that flack. But here you have such a unique situation where you're looking at it and you're no, we know our head coach is is going to go. It's the fact that the guy behind him, the owner, that's the problem.
Yeah. And, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Got to throw your hands up in the air. What are you going to do? Hopefully one day he'll figure it out. That's all he's got to hope and pray. That's really all it is.
Yeah, and I feel at that point you're just like you said, all you could do as a fan is just hope that things get better at this point.
Yeah. People have stopped showing up. People have stopped showing up on Sundays. You don't see a lot of gear around anymore. So all that stuff is, kind of dwindling away, but, the diehards are still there. We're still watching every week, and,
Yeah. Yeah, and so, for that, though, so if you're Dan Snyder, which I'm so sorry that I ever even pretended that you were, I know that's an insult, but if you were Dan, pretend you just had billions of dollars, so that'd be nice. So if you were Dan Snyder, what moves do you make besides obviously throwing yourself out a window? But what moves do you make if you're staying on in the team to even try to win the fan base back? I'm not even talking about putting a competitive team on the field anymore. I'm saying to win back the trust and the loyalty and the passion of the fan base, because what you're describing to me just seems again, the people not showing up, you're not seeing a whole lot of merch. How do you get that back? Or is it winning cures everything?
It's a combination. Winning will cure everything. Winning's a big help curing everything. But I don't know. I don't know. He's got a lot of negative stories about him over the past couple of years about little things he's done that sort of upset people. Whether it's, suing season ticket holders or whatnot. Mm-hmm. So, that what? I think accountability and honesty would go a long way with a lot of people here. Owning up to mistakes you've made and just being transparent about what you're doing and why you're doing it and what the game plan is and what you're thinking. I don't think you get enough of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you see it fail, you feel like you're being lied to or catered to, and then you just see them fail again. And it's frustrating in that regard where, if you're just a little more, I don't know if open is the right term, because you can't really be, you can't be showing everybody your scouting reports or everything like that. But, just being more honest about it, just being,
Yeah, it's just some transparency of hey,
yeah.
It might go a long way to be hey, I know that things are really bad. Here's a tentative game plan on how we're going to get better. Here's a way that we're going to get our fans back. Because you have that stuff and you could have a couple bad stories come out and, they blow over. But if you see constant stuff, like you said, with the cheerleader thing or the suing, the season ticket holders, which is just absolutely outrageous.
Right. They have the team president come out, do an interview during this year, and they don't admit to any wrongdoing. They say they have got a great culture, and you just know it's a lie. And it's one of these things where you just got to go. If you just own up to it, it's such a wonderful step forward to recognizing us as fans and people versus just sort of commodities. Because one day that commodity is going to run out. the younger fan base isn't there like it is for other teams because they've been so bad for so long. And now you got the Nationals being good, you got the Capitals being good. Younger fans are gravitating towards that. And so anybody who's, I'm in my mid-30s right now, as a kid when they were winning Super Bowls, anybody who's, 28, 29 years old, they've got that Griffin season. But then there are all these backstories about how that got torpedoed. Now we took Griffin's side over Shanahan, and, it's one of those things where just being a little more honest and open and accountable for what's happened. I just think it was a fan base. I would appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think anyone can fault you for that because, like, you're in that situation where, like, something has to give or it's just going to continue to be like this. And yeah, you might be able to put, more fans in seats, but if you're feeling that way, like that there isn't that connection between you and your team, like that's what you have, right? Like that's why you're a fan, because you feel that connection. Right. And if you don't have like that younger generation to come in because, mom and dad are just like, yeah, no, we're not going to talk about the Redskins. Like, let's go watch the Nationals instead. Like that's detrimental to a team. And if you're just being looked at as a number who's filling a seat and is just, putting money into the team, then, what's the point at all? Because it gets to a point where you're a fan and you like football because, you love the sport and you have fun doing it and you're passionate about it. Even when your team loses, you're like, this is still my team, this is still what have you. And if you lose that, then what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, and it's difficult because the makeup of the city is very transient based on, the economy and the jobs and everything. So you got a lot of people from other cities moving in here with their fandom coming in. So it's not like it is in Milwaukee or something like that where you're born and raised, you grow up in Wisconsin all the time. You go to UW and you're cheering the Packers your whole life. Here, you got a bunch of kids who are coming in and, the locals, the people that grew up here. I mean, I grew up here, few and far between. I mean, there's a handful, in our community. So it's difficult in that sense where you don't have just a ton of people. But the thing is, once, like, going back to that RG3 run, like, once it's good and it's going good, I mean, everybody's there. There's signs on the side of the road. There's everybody's got their flags out. Like, it's there. It just, it's a lot of apathy right now with a lot of, different, same results over and over and over again.
Yeah. So. And I think it's crazy too, because like obviously, like I'm 29, and like I obviously vividly remember like the RG3 era because it wasn't that long ago. Like you're not. It sounds like, or at least it feels like it's been like a really, really long time. But I remember the hype. I remember like the way that the fan base responded to it and how popular RG3 was and how like his jersey was like the best-selling jersey. Like, you know what I mean? Like there was all of these factors that it was like, hey, like this is our franchise guy. He's gonna lead us into the future. We're gonna build a team around it, and then it falls apart.
Yeah, and it just crumbled like his knee. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, and so you look ahead and hope things would get better.
Well, what made it worse was that so Griffin gets hurt. They go and they draft Kirk Cousins.
Yep.
And they actually have a competent NFL quarterback in their hands. Like they botched that situation, but now here's another quarterback. And then they just screw up that situation too.
Yeah.
So now you've just lost two quarterbacks from that draft. Yeah, and it is frustrating. And then Alex comes in, he does great, and he breaks his leg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
now
like
you're just wondering what's going on.
You're like, what did I do? Like, just what happened? Right. Like, when is Dan Snyder going to wake up and be like, there's a curse on me as a leader of this organization. I need to leave. Like, you're just hoping that happens at some point.
That was one of the funny stories before the game where Alex broke his leg. They had a Native American ceremony where they blessed the field or they did something like that. And until, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Alex got hurt, and then they hadn't won a home game since then. So we were believing that it was actually a curse that they had put on. And instead of a blessing. So.
They're just like, screw you guys for taking this name. Yeah. We're just, you just guys aren't going to win anything for a while.
Yeah, you're done. But, they won a home game last week, so that's a positive moving forward. So,
yeah. No, I get you. And so you look ahead to this Sunday. So obviously, you had a strong game. You beat the Panthers, and that's not something necessarily to, shake your head at, because while some teams have found that very easily, I'll look at the Packers. They did not. That came down to the very last second. And so, heading into Lambeau, obviously you've had this run game that's kind of appeared in the past couple weeks, and the Packers' run defense is struggling, to say it the least. So when it comes to you looking ahead to this Sunday, where do you think that the Redskins can potentially walk into Lambeau and sneak out with a win?
What's the weather going to be like on Sunday? If they can get sort of a game where they sort of force the running game, I think that will help them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is in fantasy football. I have Aaron Jones, and I have no idea what he does to coaches that make him so mad to never give him the ball. But when he gets the ball, he seems to do nothing but score touchdowns.
Correct.
So, hopefully something where they have to force the running game, which probably benefits, you if you got to get Aaron Jones the ball, but something where you just got to take the ball out of Rodgers' hands. You just got to dominate time of possession, and then, double up Devontae Adams, make somebody else beat you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, trust me, what you just said is literally the thought of just about every single Packers fan out there, because they're like, oh my God, Aaron Jones has 4 touchdowns in a game. Aaron Jones has 3 touchdowns in a game, and you're like, this is amazing. And then he goes with nothing, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah. 4 touches, and Jamal Williams.
Yep.
80% of snaps.
Yeah, trust me. I know. I mean, you got some more targets in the passing game last week, but it's incredibly frustrating. And I think that if the Packers are going to be successful, like, Aaron Jones has to be a part of that, because as we've learned, and as it's been demonstrated, when he gets the ball, like you said, he scores. Like, he does very, very well. So it's just a matter of, we need to give him the ball.
Yeah.
But
and if the Redskins can force that kind of game, I think they've got their best chance. But if it comes down to just the arms, they can't keep up. They just shoot out.
Yeah, but again, I think the Redskins, they have some pieces there that I think like provide like that light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, okay, if Geis can stay healthy, if Haskins can rebound in his second year and actually get some help around him, maybe get some more receiver threats and definitely get a defense that can help him out as well. Like, the pieces have potential to be there, and it's just a matter of essentially just waiting it out and hoping that it comes relatively soon.
Yeah, like I said, if they, I think they're missing, if they re-sign Sheriff, 2 pieces on their offensive line. They, the other issue with Trent Williams and the medical staff and all that, but they're missing a left tackle right now. I think they would be 3 games in the win column if they had Trent Williams, but they're missing their left tackle, and the right tackle's not doing well. The interior of the line's doing great, and then just pieces on defense, and they'll be competitive again. That's, I think, the biggest issue is they have not been competitive at all this year.
Yeah.
Even in their wins, it's against backup quarterbacks and, depleted teams.
Yeah. And I mean, you actually just I totally forgot about the Trent Williams thing. Yeah, like, that's another thing that you're just looking at, which is like, why? Why can't you be good? Like, just stop it, Redskins. Just stop.
Yeah.
And it's just...
Because there's always something new, too. It's just the weirdest thing. You just never expect there's always something new. So.
And I mean, like, obviously, like, before we go, I do want to ask this question, because I'm curious. So, like, I've talked to Browns fans, right, where they've gone seasons without winning, and I've talked to teams who, haven't been good in a really, really long time. They don't have the past success that you guys have. And listen, there's some Redskins-Packers ties. Listen, Mark Murphy, our president, played for you guys in a Super Bowl. We got that familial tie there. I'm curious, as like you were talking about this younger generation and potentially not gravitating towards the fans. Do you think there's ever a point where I'll say the veteran fans, the ones who have been there through it all, like thick and thin, that if Snyder continues to run this team and to do so as he has done and produce negative results, do you see like there ever being a point where you're just like, you know what, I'm not going to turn the game on Sunday? Or is it more of like my fandom is always going to be there?
I think it'll always be there. I think right now with the other team's success and the Redskins being down, the only reason. But once that team gets good, everyone comes out for it. I just don't ever see. The conversation might not dominate every lunchroom or break room.
Sure.
But it's not going to go away. Yeah. The fans. I think the diehards will always be there. I think there'll be a couple of younger fans that like I said, very transient areas. So they could have picked off a couple of Packer fans or Steeler fans who came in from their parents. But, they didn't. That's fine. But I just don't ever see. I don't see the diehards not showing up. I don't see. I won't. And
yeah.
My wife's a Seahawks fan. I've had opportunities to jump over there, but I just can't. You just can't.
Yeah. Listen, you made the right decision with that. I commend you for that. I hate the Seahawks with a burning passion, and you think, okay, you know what? That's it. Like now we're good. We're totally good because you don't want to go over to the dark side. Yeah, no, but that's what being a fan is all about, right? Like you're with your team through thick and thin, and maybe eventually there won't be Snyder on the last name there, but you're a fan of your team, and you're there for the long haul.
Yeah, even if he just sort of figures it out one day or just falls into it, I don't care. You just want to win. That's all you want.
Yeah, and just to make it fun again. It definitely makes it fun. But Mo, this has been absolutely wonderful talking to you. I really, really appreciate you coming on. I do wish you luck, just not on Sunday, but I wish you luck against all the NFC East opponents. I wish you luck in rebuilding, and I hope that brighter days are coming your way for your team.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Good luck on the Central race, and don't worry about Kirk Cousins. He will vomit on himself at the end of the year.
Listen, you say you messed that up, but at least you didn't pay him $84 million guaranteed. So, it could be worse. Well, Packers fans, again, we've said this multiple times. We had 2 losing seasons, and people were not happy about it, and there was booing, and there was lots and lots of comments made. But 1, it could always get worse. But 2, no matter how bad it gets, you don't give up on your team. But let me know what you think down in the comments below about this Sunday's game. You can always send me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout out and thank you to all the Patreon members over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. But I am Tom Grossi. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, go Pack, go.